Welcome to another film study episode, and today I want to talk about this Browns offense and what they need to do to take that next leap to potentially compete for a Super Bowl. Down the stretch, the Browns were an extremely efficient offense. The run game and the play action scheme was working excellent. They were able to feed off that for the majority of the season when their defensive counterparts were not so great. So the Browns were able to win close games because of just how efficient their offense was. But when it came to facing those championship caliber teams, the Ravens and the Chiefs, two men-heavy, blitzing, aggressive, and physical defenses, they really struggled, and especially the Browns receivers. They really struggled. Over the course of the year, the Browns were 30th in most yards after the catch, 29th, tied for 29th in most passing plays of over 40 yards, and they were dead last in number of 100-yard receiver games. And this all shows that the Browns' offense is pretty limited. They don't have guys that are elite separators. They don't have elite deep threats, although Donovan Peoples-Jones has looked pretty decent. Jarvis, Landry, and Rashard Higgins are excellent receivers, but they are in no way great athletes that are able to separate consistently against man coverage. And the Browns really need to fix this and address this moving on into next season if they want to compete for a Super Bowl. So with that being said, let's analyze some film. And really quickly before we get started, if you have any questions about free agency, should the Browns extend this player, my thoughts on that, please ask them in the forum that I will link below. I will be doing a free agency Q&A in about a week from now, so make sure to get any questions in, and I will for sure answer them on that show. But let's get back to the film study. So for this first play, it looks like the Chiefs are going to run either a cover 1 or a cover 2 man. It looks like a cover 1 because Tyrann Mathieu is a little higher than Daniel Sorensen, and the Sam linebacker comes down look like he's gonna blitz, and Daniel Sorensen, that would make sense as he would be covering David Njoku, and then the two outside corners are aligned to the two outside receivers. It could also be a cover 2 man with the two high safeties dropping into their middle thirds, and of course then the Sam linebacker would be faking the blitz and he'd actually be on David Njoku, and then the two outside receivers would be guarded by the two corners. So that's really what you're most likely going to get, barring some over-the-top coverage disguise. But as the Browns are running a switch vertical concept with a built-in motion, they're going to motion Jarvis Landry, the X receiver, into the slot. The Chiefs roll into a cover 1. They were a cover 1 all the time, but instead of having the receiver, the corner that is on Jarvis Landry, run through all that traffic, they're going to have Tyrann Mathieu drop to cover Jarvis Landry in the slot, which reveals the cover 1 as Daniel Sorensen then makes his way to the middle third. And then, of course, they're going to have the corner then shift to cover David Njoku, and then the Mike linebacker to watch for Harrison Bryant if he comes out to run a route, or if he blocks, just to stay and hover pretty much. And then the Sam linebacker to blitz. So that's a lot to unpack, but if we focus on this Browns receiving core here on this play, they're going to run a switch vertical concept. And what this does is this is a deep coverage beater. It's meant to occupy the deep area of the field. And a cover 1, this is not the worst concept against cover 1 because you're essentially flooding those two receivers into one safety. And this would be a great call if you had someone that could separate one-on-one. But the issue is Rashard Higgins especially gets absolutely bullied by the corner. He does not create any separation on his switch route. Jarvis Landry is not in an advantageous situation with the leverage as Tyrann Mathieu's running the way that he's going to run his route. But really the main issue here is Rashard Higgins does not use any of the leverage given to him by the corner. Here Higgins is going to try what's called a one stretch or a one-step release off the line of scrimmage. It's a pretty common one, but basically it's designed to get the corner to jump outside by using that jab and then convert that into an inside route and have the corner off balance and not able to catch up to you. So how to execute this is you're going to have your left leg in front, and then you're going to have your right leg behind, of course, and you're going to do a jump step move. You're going to shift your momentum to the back leg step up, then jab your right leg to the right to get the corner to jump to the outside, and so he anticipates an outside breaking route, and then use that momentum to shift your weight to the left so you have an advantageous situation breaking on the inside, and while your momentum is going inside, the corner's momentum is breaking outside. And what you need to execute this route perfectly is you need good eye discipline, selling that go route, and of course good change of direction to be able to cut that route inside. Higgins does not do a great job on either of this. He looks like he rushes this route. He doesn't have good eye discipline. His jab step is not as profound as it needs to be, and therefore the corner does not bite. He stays inside, and then continuously on the route, Higgins tries to create separation that he failed to do at the release point. He gets bullied on his way trying to create separation, and he's just not open. And because of that, Baker automatically looks off that read, rolls out, really nothing. The pass rush catches up to him, and he's forced to throw it out. It's incomplete. And this is the type of thing that you're going to need to find for the Browns. You're going to need someone that wins on the line of scrimmage. It's not just speed, because Higgins isn't fast, but he also doesn't win on the line of scrimmage, and the Browns need to find a receiver that will. The Chiefs ran a ton of single high coverages against the Browns because they thought that their corners could be left on an island with the Browns receivers, and they were right. The Browns receivers did not get any separation all day. Here the Browns are going to run a stick route concept, and Mayfield's going to try to look for Higgins on the slant. That's going to be his first read there. And what Higgins is going to do is he's going to use a standard speed release. He's going to give the corner a little bit of what's called a foot fire. He's going to try to get the corner off balance and then cut inside really quickly to try to get inside leverage on the slant. And here, if we just look at this play, you can see that Higgins, he does his stack, he does his foot fire, and switches feet and tries to beat the corner with speed. This does not work. The corner he gets pretty good leverage, but the corner just catches up to him, gets right into the lane of the throw, and knocks that incomplete. And that's again because Rashard Higgins, as much as I love the guy, he's a personal favorite of Baker, he is not an elite separator and will not consistently get open against man coverage. As I mentioned, in the Ravens game, the Browns receivers could not get any separation whatsoever. The reason the Browns were so effective in that game, able to score 42 points, is because they were able to use that play-action scheme off the run game and scheme guys open. But again, they lost. These two games where they faced man-heavy, blitzing, aggressive defenses, they've lost both times. And that's because the Browns have a lack of dynamic weapons, especially when OBJ went down. So here the Browns are running a fade, smash fade concept. It's very familiar, the Oklahoma offense with Lincoln Riley. And it's a man-to-man beater. It's meant to beat man coverage, especially press man coverage. What did the Ravens show? A cover one with press. And the reason Wink Martindale, the Ravens defensive coordinator, so frequently called press man coverage, which was pretty gutsy, it's because the Browns receivers couldn't do anything against Marcus Peters and Marlon Humphrey, two of the most physical corners in the game. Here, Jarvis Landry is going to run the fade, but if you look here, Marcus Peters absolutely is all over him. He smothers him. Baker cannot throw that anywhere. He tries to lob it over to the right side so the free safety can't get it. But Marcus Peters redirects Landry. Landry's play strength is not great when route running, and he just can't get any separation there, and it's an incomplete pass. So before we move on to a guy that I would really like the Browns to go make a run at, here's a rep from Rashard Higgins in the Ravens game. The Browns are going to run a deep dig concept. They're going to try to get Rashard Higgins on a deep dig to pick up a chunk play. How they're going to execute this is they're going to have the outside receiver opposite of Rashard Higgins run a deep route. He's just going to run straight, a fly route. And Mayfield is actually going to pump fake to him to get that corner, that high safety, to jump. He wants that corner to move to that fly route. And then he'll turn around to his second read and hit Rashard Higgins, hopefully in the middle of the field as the safety would be out of position. So It is executed and designed pretty much perfectly. The only issue is that Rashard Higgins, again, does not get the separation he needs to. If we take a look at his route that he runs, at the release point, Marlon Humphrey, the corner, gets his hands on him. Rashard Higgins, that's the last thing you want as a receiver, is the corner to get a hold of you. Through the route, as Rashard Higgins is trying to create separation, Marlon Humphrey stays right on him. And then that last cut that he needs to make is too round. It's not as sharp as it needs to be. Marlon Humphrey does not get Marlon Humphrey out of position. Humphrey knows exactly what's coming and makes a play on the ball. Baker puts that where it needs to be. Rashard Higgins just does not run that route properly and sharply enough in order to create that separation that you need to in order to open up that vertical passing game. The Browns definitely need a dynamic route runner at the wide receiver position in order to take that next leap on offense. Odell Beckham is a perfect example, but as I mentioned in my video, and you can take a look at that, I'll leave a link to that in the description of the video, Baker is not so great with OBJ. Maybe that's something that changes as Baker has his first season where he doesn't have to learn a new offense, but if the front office feels that OBJ is not the best option for this Browns team, I think that Curtis Samuel would be a great fit in Kevin Stefanski's offense. He's great after the catch, as the Browns need someone that can get those yards after the catch, but most importantly, he is an elite separator. He has dynamic footwork and ability to separate from defenders on the get-go from the line of scrimmage. So this season, as he is a free agent from the Panthers, he caught 77 balls for 850 yards with 3 touchdowns, as well as 200 yards rushing as the Panthers put him at running back and ran a lot of jet sweeps with him. Most interestingly is among all wide receivers, he was first in percentage of targets caught. He's a versatile weapon, and as I mentioned, he has an elite release off the line of scrimmage. So let's start with that. What I love about Curtis Samuel, in addition to his elite release off the line of scrimmage, is he's a very smart receiver. So here, it's 2nd and 7, and he's going to work on Chandon Sullivan. He needs to get that inside release, and he's in tight quarters. There's a linebacker in the middle of the field, so he's got to he has to have a great release and a great route running to get into that window that Teddy Bridgewater can throw into without having it picked off by the linebacker. So here, as he releases off the line of scrimmage, he does a little bit of what's known as a walk-it-out release. He stutters a little bit, and then as soon as he's got the corner, as soon as the corner's frozen, when you get the corner to stop moving, then you can use that leverage for your advantage. What he does here, he uses that leverage, bursts inside using that God-given natural acceleration as well as lateral quickness, sprints into that zone, the linebacker's flat-footed, and he uses that excellent technique, gets his head fake, uses that head fake to fake that outside, get the corner to stop moving, sprint into that zone, and then use that athleticism to pick up a bunch of extra yards. This next rep is from the Chargers game. It's a 3rd and 7, and Curtis Samuels is going to work on Chris Harris. And Chris Harris is one of the best slot corners in the game. So this isn't against some no-name practice squad corner, like the Browns often trot out. But anyway, so Curtis Samuel here is going to try to sell the outside release and then cut back inside. So here, he cuts outside like he's supposed to, and because of that ability to spin on a dime, to cut on a dime, that lateral quickness, which is out of this world, he gets Chargers corner Chris Harris's leverage to the outside. He anticipates Chris Harris tries to get his hands on him. Curtis Samuels catches Harris reaching, and then as soon as he gets that, he swipes that hand away, cuts inside. The Chargers corner is forced to flip his hips, and therefore Curtis Samuels is wide open, gets the ball, and runs for a ton of yardage. And again, that's what he can bring to your offense. It's that ability to separate within seconds that allows you to utilize that quick passing concepts and get that extra yak yardage that the Browns desperately need. And also, by the way, as we watch this clip, this was not a fumble. He was ruled down by contact. He does not have fumbling issues either. I do want to highlight Curtis Samuel's deep threat ability. He runs a 4.3 40, and I do think that he can really stretch defenses vertically. Here, the football team is going to run a Tampa 2. So there's going to be the Mike linebacker who's responsible for carrying off any deep routes that cross over the middle, which is what Samuel's going to run, into the safeties. And what the Panthers are going to run, or at least what Samuel's going to run, is a seam route. He's going to try to get over the top of the defense. And again, he can flash by a lot of guys. This happens a lot in zone coverage where good safeties. I mean, here he's going to trick Cameron Curl. Cameron Curl does not see Curtis Samuel just flash by across the middle of the field, and he does that a lot. Here he gets open, he gets running on that seam, blazes by that middle linebacker, comes open, and then comes down with the catch. And while I do think that Teddy Bridgewater is a good quarterback, Mayfield would be able to maximize Curtis Samuel's deep threat ability because Mayfield just has a much stronger arm. The Browns have very tough decisions to make because Odell and Jarvis Landry both have $15 million cap hits with really low cut penalties, meaning you can cut or trade them with practically zero penalty. So something's gotta have to give. There's a very good chance that both of them are on the roster, none of them are on the roster, or one of them on the roster. Higgins is another battle. So there's a lot of things that could happen. There's a lot of things that will happen with this Browns receiver room. But something that they are definitely going to need to do is make sure that they have more speed and more playmakers at the position. They need people that can get off the line of scrimmage and take it to the house sometimes. They need guys that are a constant threat off the perimeter and a deep threat that can stretch defenses to open up things underneath and also open up that running game. The Browns' offense was an extremely efficient one. They were extremely efficient. But what needs to happen, including a defensive overhaul, is an offensive retooling, making it more dynamic, more threatening in the vertical passing game so the Browns can finally go to the promised land.